coming to you live from deep within a rainy but no longer snowy radioactive wasteland. We're the survivors of the alt-right Keck apocalypse, the few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the normie lobster hordes with Rantzerker number
245.
245. Rantzerker number 245. Feminism's destroyed women, women most defected. Actually, the title is Has Feminism Destroyed Women? I am your host, Alison, for this most interesting of topics. And with me is the ineffable Karen Strawn, and Girl Writes What, and also the indefatigable. Do you pronounce it that way?
It's also unaffable, which means humorless, which is true, and also ineffable, which is
ineffable.
Unique.
No,
which
I
is
said
also
unique.
True.
Indefatigable.
No. Me. You got mine. Both of mine wrong.
Both.
Well, okay, you said ineffable. It's ineffable. Ineffable means unique. Unaffable means ineffable means unique. Okay, so unaffable means humorless. I am both.
Never too rare to be destroyed, too strange to die. Karen Strawn and otherwise Girl Writes What, and also the
tireless.
Indomitable. Tireless Brian, our producer Brian.
Yeah. And eternally patient.
Eternally patient. Okay. All right.
Eternally.
So we are going to be insane in the membrane. I don't know where that came from. All right. So we are going to be covering a Diary of a CEO debate between non-feminist women and anti-feminist women on, of course, women. Because women.
Yeah, that's what's important. Who cares how feminism affected men, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? What matters is how everything affects women, because nothing really has a moral or social valence until we know how it affects women. All right. And before we get into it, I just want to remind you that if you want to send a message, the very best way to do so is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the benefit of not sending your comment through YouTube's comment labyrinth of wonders. All right. And also, we are doing our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger.com/support. So if you do want to see this content keep coming, go there and help us out. And we are doing a meetup September 13th of this year in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. If you're interested, please go to feedthebadger.com/events and keep track of that, because there'll be updates there. All right. Let's get into it.
Okay. Do you guys need me to set up this video we're looking at? Because I picked it out.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Brian is the one who chose this.
Yeah, I found this discussion going on the interwebs, and it's on a channel called The Diary of a CEO, which is a pretty big channel, 11.5 million subscribers. And this gentleman here is the guy who runs the channel, and he brought together 3 women to discuss basically the state of everything. So the post-sexual revolution, women in the workforce, families, children, the male loneliness epidemic, etc. I thought it was a really good thing that he brought these people on to talk about it, because it means the conversation is happening. But who are the 3 women he brought on? So I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a short and dirty of what we're looking at here. So first, you have Deborah Frances White, who is a London-based Australian comedian, author, screenwriter, and podcaster. She is known for a podcast called The Guilty Feminist Podcast, which has garnered over 90 million downloads and explores modern intersectional feminism with humor and insight. She also hosts Global Pillage, a comedy panel show blending intersectional feminism and politics. I'm sure it's hilarious. And she also recently appeared on Trigonometry, and that became a very contentious episode.
I think I know who that is.
Yeah, you'll recognize her when you
see her. Short hair,
glasses,
chubby.
She wears glasses. Well, shoulder length hair. You know, glasses. And then you got Louise Perry, who has been quite vocal, quite a vocal critic of the sort of like, the consequences of the sexual revolution. She is a British journalist, author, and podcast host based in London, known for her work as a features writer for the Daily Mail and a columnist at the New Statesman. She's the author of the best-selling book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, A New Guide to Sex in the 21st Century, which critiques the negative consequences of liberal feminism and the sexual revolution, drawing from her experience working in a rape crisis center. And lastly, we have Erica Commissar, who's a New York City-based clinical social worker, psychoanalyst, parent coach, and author with over 30 years of experience in private practice. She specializes in treating depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and compulsive behaviors, helping individuals achieve personal and professional goals through a rational, psychoanalytic approach. Commissar is the author of a book called Being There, Why Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years Matters, which emphasizes the importance of maternal presence for a child's early emotional development, and Chicken Little, The Sky Isn't Falling, Raising Resilient Adolescents in the New Age of Anxiety, a guide for parents on fostering adolescent mental health. So these are the three women that were brought forth to talk about these topics, and we have a bunch of time codes. So I thought, because this is
Johnny,
like a 2.5 hour long... What?
Before we get into it, it's stuck on Karen.
Is
and yeah, and Karen, could you move a little bit to, I think, towards the back of your sofa, just like about 6 inches? And yeah, it got stuck on Karen while you were talking. Now it seems to be oscillating between all three of us, sort of randomly. I wonder.
Oh, it was probably because I sighed. I did a heavy sigh.
Yeah, but you didn't sigh for like 5 minutes. So I think there might be a little bit of a small technical issue. And but sorry to interrupt, but I just figured
it's all right. I can switch between them manually if the audio cues aren't working for the macros. So yeah, I'll just do that. Okay. I mean, if I need to, I'll just keep an eye on it. But I was just reading.
I'll bump it too. I'll bump it too. Just
well, the problem, Allison, is that if you're watching the stream live, you're seeing it several seconds after I said it. So like you're late.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay.
So I have to like I'll just keep my eye on a thing. So all right. So anyway, we got several time codes we can look at. And they're in different sections, because this is a 2.5 hour long conversation. You could do a series on this one, but I do think that it's worth going into, because unlike crazy bedroom feminists that have grown up and they're just yelling at the sky, these people are, like supposedly like they've written books, like they're like, big influence on it. Yeah, they're at least tangentially related to the machine, and this is, in my opinion, at least a slightly more elevated conversation. So that's why I'm interested. So anyway,
they're in the control room of the femosphere,
or they have more access.
Mm-hmm,
I think that Louise Perry, for example, is still she's still kind of an odd woman out, because even though she is a feminist still, she's kind of like, one of those bad feminists that's not doing it right. So, anyway, so we have a couple of different sections. They talk about here. Let me give you the intro so you guys can get a sense of like the tone of this. And it's a short little, coming up in this video kind of, what do you call that? A sizzle thing. So here we go.
The feminism movement didn't unite women, it split women.
I feel totally
listen, 50% of young women don't want to have children. They're really preoccupied with making money and materialism.
But we're still looking at a society that is increasingly telling women where they could be better.
But sometimes feminism expects women to be prioritized, and both sexes want the privileges without the responsibilities.
Can I just add, we are producing women and men who are and I'll tell you what I mean by that. It'll be an interesting discussion.
Okay, so that, you guys, so that's what it's going to be like in terms of the tone. So there's a section where they talk about the sexual revolution, what is the sexual revolution, and their feelings on it. There's one where they talk about autonomy, freedom, and agency as a byproduct of the sexual revolution. There's a conversation about hookup culture and casual sex. And then there's a conversation about monogamy. Then the age of marriage, which has been increasing over time. The emotional consequences of sex. Feminists typically have had trauma. There's a section called that, which is interesting. And there's also a bit on the manosphere and trad wives. Of course.
Okay. Okay. I just have a question from that very, very brief little intro snippet or pre-intro. Is teaser. Why do women have to be united? I mean, united in what? United in patriotism, united in the church, united in, love for family, united within a set of moral values, united within, but just united women. Like that just implies, okay, united for what? United against what? Right?
Yeah, I know what
it's
you're saying.
It's a good point.
If they're not united, it means the men might get them. So they have to be. That's kind of like what it is, right? The specter of the patriarchy is ever present.
Yeah, but men, the alleged patriarchy is anything but united. Men are not united.
No, because they don't have the same
They're only united within certain contexts. Like, okay, when it comes time to fight for your women and children, right, for your country from, being invaded, and even then they're not united. Like, that's when they're expected to unite, but that's, I mean, like...
You want me to take a stab at it?
Unite against men. That's what it is.
Against men. Yeah, it's unite against men, but also it is unite because our value is in our solidarity and the fact that we're female. But we don't want to accept the consequences of tying our value to our femaleness, which is reducing how much value we take from our actions as individuals, which means less achievement overall, less capability of doing things, less ability to be cooperative in a goal-orientated sense. So simultaneous with wanting this solidarity and the benefits of being valued purely for being female, you also want the benefits of not being valued purely for being female, which you can't have both. But I think it's that it's insecurity. The women who say things like we all need to be united in solidarity are insecure about who they are as people, and they lean heavily on
either that or they want to be like, okay, so women need to be united. They all need to think exactly the way I do and act exactly the way I do, right? And it's like, no, okay, no. Like there is something, there is something to the religions that have survived, right, over time, and the ability of those religions to unite over the course of hundreds of years or thousands of years, right, to unite people. Yeah, but they all have a book, right? They all have a foundational text that you can refer back to. It's not just, this whole, it was first wave feminism, and then it was second wave feminism, and then third wave feminism, which is totally different. And then it's fourth wave feminism, which is like super trans positive, and I'm just like, okay, you change your ideology. You change your ideology like a girl changes clothes.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we get into the actual time code?
Yeah. So so I guess it depends on what interests you guys the most in terms of where they go with it, and if you want to make this like a series, because there's a lot in here. But I do think that it's worth
choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Like, do you want that? You want to have the conversation about the sexual revolution? Do you want to have the conversation about hookup culture? Do you want to have the conversation of this idea that feminists typically have had trauma?
Let's see how hookup culture hurts women.
All right, let's go to casual sex and hookup culture. I'm gonna do one thing before we start. I'll start playing the clip, but I think I'm gonna change the layout in the vertical because right now because there's so many screens, I have to like reduce. So I'm going to replace myself with Karen for her reaction instead.
To add to that before you jump in there, despite the general decline in sex, especially amongst younger people, societal acceptance of casual sex has grown quite rapidly. In the UK, approval of casual sex rose from just 10% in 1999 to 42% in 2022.
The hookup culture.
Yeah.
So when you say rules and structure, Erica, I'm really interested in that turn of phrase because, of course, children need rules and structure, but women aren't children.
Yes,
we're
you
all
are.
children. Men are children.
Compared
you
to
look
what?
like adults and you try to talk like adults, but in your heart of hearts, you're the oldest teenager in the house. If you're lucky, if you're mature. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Let's find out what her conclusion is.
I think it's worth getting a sense of like where these women are at, and even the guy who hosts the show.
And then they're gonna come in, guarantee you, and talk about the rules and the structures that need to be applied to men when they participate in hookup culture, right? Because men should have rules and guidelines and restrictions and regulations applied to them and their behavior, right?
In the same way that we
or you get
adults.
kicked out of school or go to jail, okay? But
Mhm.
women shouldn't have any rules or structures applied to them.
No.
They can just do whatever the fuck they want because they're like harmless little bunny rabbits who could never hurt anybody.
Yeah, the power differential is between child and adult, with men being the adults and women being the children. She says women are not children, but let us treat them legally as such in relation to men. But not give men the authority they need to
control their fucking children.
Yeah. Yeah, this is well, let's see what she actually says, because I'm not sure this is the feminist. It might be a non-feminist, maybe.
This is a non-feminist. Okay. The one who's like, well, women are adults. Yeah, no, anti-feminism is the radical notion that women are adults. Okay? Or could be if they choose to, right? Feminism is the perpetual infantilization of the female.
Yes.
Or the woman faced.
The woman face.
Yeah, those in wearing woman face.
Okay.
All right, I'm playing more.
Children too. From a psychoanalyst perspective, there's a child in everyone.
Of course, but I think when we're talking about rules and grown women, we are really, really in dangerous water because we are looking at a society that is increasingly closing down on women and telling women where they could do better, be better. If we're looking at an extreme example, we're looking at Iran in 1970s and women in parliament and women walking around is part of the sexual revolution in miniskirts and having a wonderful time. And then you're looking at women in Iran now, you're looking at women in Afghanistan now. Women in Afghanistan now have rules and they have structure. They can't stand near a window. They can't leave the house without a man. They can't they can't use their voice in public. They can't sing. Like,
all right, I'm just pausing there because she goes on and on. She uses a lot of sophistry, and they talk about what are the problems with the sexual revolution in the United States, and she goes Iran
and Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yeah.
Yeah, no, like, okay, so it's very dangerous territory to say that any rules apply to women.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
In terms of their sexuality, right? Like, okay, there are rules that apply to men, right? Men can end up on a sex offenders list for, okay, maybe not so much these days in places like fucking California, right? but for urinating in public.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're exposing their sexual organ to other people, where other people can see it, right? Those were the rules before everybody went fucking insane about laying hot Carls on the fucking sidewalk because, hey, you know, you can't be expected to take your poo to the loo. Right? You know, in San Francisco or some of these other freaking liberal cities, including all over British Columbia and all over Ontario in these major urban centers, where it's just like they're closing down fucking beaches because like, the water's infested with E. coli because there's too many people shitting on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so where were we 10, 15, 20 years ago? We were like, yeah, if you actually pulled your pants down in public as a man, you got arrested for a sexual offense. Even if it was just to take, even if it was just to take a shit. Yeah, if you were a woman, it was like no biggie, right? You know, like you might get a like a citation from a bylaw officer or something, right? But you weren't gonna get on any kind of registry. Like
no.
And they'd give you a talking to about how that's dangerous to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, like who knows what kind of men are around here who might think that you're giving them a signal about, you know, wanting to be raped. You know, okay, like this whole idea that rules should not apply to women. Okay, yeah, we can have reasonable rules that apply to everybody. Nobody gets to sexually expose themselves in public, okay? Which means Spirit Airlines is well within its rights, okay, to bar women walking on their freaking planes, okay, because this was a new thing that just came up. They're now enforcing a dress code so that you can't wear shorts so short that your meat curtains are hanging out your freaking short legs. Okay? And you can't wear tops so low cut that your nipples are poking out the top. Okay? Like, and then all these women are wondering, well, why are they only applying it to us? Because men already have these rules applied to them. Unless they're gay.
And even then, I don't think gay men really.
Well, they push their luck at Pride.
Yeah,
right?
But they don't push their luck elsewhere.
On the airplane, right? Like, they're generally not like, well, I don't know. It's getting worse and worse all the time. But no, it's like.
It's just interesting. It's interesting because ultimately this argument that she's made comes down to women shouldn't have standards or rules applied to them because Afghanistan.
You know, even one rule.
Yeah.
Even one rule. Okay, when you
and the
come
reason,
to work, when you come to work at the family restaurant, okay, to wait tables, you can't wear bondage boots and a top cut so low that your lacy bra pokes over the top of your neckline, right? With big cutouts in the side to show off your figure all the way down to your skirt that doesn't pass the finger test, where it's not longer than your fingertips when you hold your hands at your sides, and your apron's longer than your skirt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't dress like that to wait tables in a family restaurant. And all of the women are like, well, why are you singling us out? The men aren't doing this.
Right? You're the ones doing this. But so she's basically saying no standards for women because of Afghanistan. And she's also saying women aren't children, but men are held to there are all kinds of rules, both social and legal, that men are held to because we perceive that their actions have the consequences of an adult. Yeah. And the reason why she's getting away with this is that she is leaning into this social perception that the consequences of women's actions aren't at the same level as the consequences of men's actions. So men's actions have the consequences of adult actions. Women's actions have the consequences of children. Do not drink my water, void cat. That's my water. You got your own water. All right. So, I mean, it's just really interesting how they contradict themselves. Women are not children. They should have the freedoms of adults, but we shouldn't perceive them as having the consequences of adults and hold them to it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like this disturbing combination.
It's an eternal life of young offender status.
Young offender status.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like young offenders, they're protected. Their names aren't released because it could, you know, even when they're arrested for like murdering somebody or whatever, we don't release their names ever because, you know, they might serve some time, but we don't want to ruin their entire future, right, by attaching their name to the crime, right? And yeah, no, it's but they have it even better than young offenders, in my opinion. Women do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, because they got more freedom. Young offenders actually have to have the constrained freedom. But yeah, and the thing is that she's basically saying no well, let's just hold women to the same standards as we hold men. Yeah. Women should be taught not to sexually assault their partners in university and high school. They should be taken aside and said, your sexuality isn't an infinite gift that you give other people. You know, when people do not presume that it is, and apply it to men or other women who are unconscious and that kind of thing. Just treat them like men. Treat them as potential dangerous sexual predators like men. Treat them the same way in the legal system. Make them take responsibility for their sexuality in the way that men do. Make them take responsibility for the consent of their sexual partners in the way that we expect men to. That's it. We don't have to do the Afghanistan rules. We can just do the equality rules.
Oh, and you know, like, don't dress like a hussy, you know, when you get on a plane. And you know, maybe men, you know, or just allow men to just have their dicks hanging out, like assless chaps, right? Dick hanging out, get on the plane, you know. Yeah.
This reminds me, do you remember that slut walk in, I think, Brazil or some Southern American, and they're women with everything hanging out, and some dude joins in and lets the lower half fly, and they all go absolutely nuts. Because a woman's body, she can expose it in any way that she wants, but the instant a man does it, it has to be a crime because we have to use that to control him.
Yeah, I remember that photo. Like, there's like 300 women all coming after this guy who's like got his pants off.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, and the thing is that they want to be able to behave in this way, consequence free. But if a man does it, they want to be able to condemn him as a criminal. They condemn him as socially unacceptable. So women want all kinds of sexual freedoms for themselves, but will not allow men to have the same kind of freedoms. To be able to walk around in public, buck naked, with maybe like a ribbon tied around the relevant parts, and get away with it, and that be just perfectly legal outside of pride.
Yeah, at least the fig leaves were mostly equal in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah. All right, so let's go.
All right. Let's see. I'm just gonna play the video. Here we go.
Anything that says rules to me, I'm immediately like, firstly, our society has plenty of structure. We have a lot of structure. We all have to work to make a living.
No, we don't.
We are all encouraged into monogamous relationships, and there's a feel that you're successful if you find the one and get married and have 2.4 children. There's so much structure in our lives. There's very little time for relaxation or even considering what we really might want to do.
What?
I would be very intrigued to know what you mean by women should have rules.
Yeah.
Should I skip ahead, because this kind of goes on for a little while, because she keeps on doing this.
What do you mean by women should have rules? Men have rules.
Okay. Okay, you're encouraged. You're encouraged to get married and have children. Oh no. Right? And there's very little encouragement to just go out and waste your money, right, on getting hammered and banging some dude you found on Grindr. Oh, wait, Tinder. Grindr's the gay one.
Yeah, Grindr's the gay one.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, but the thing is, you know, getting married and having children, right, is socially responsible behavior, right, that contributes long-term to society, right? Even if you're like strictly an environmentalist, right? And you're one of these people who's like, well, I don't know, the world's overpopulated and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, getting married and having 2 kids and having 4 people live in the same house really, really, really helps the environment. That's the one. That's the photo. They're so mad.
My ancestors are smiling on imperials. Can you say the same?
And it's just pure, it's just the pure hypocrisy of it.
Yeah.
It's the pure hypocrisy of it. Rules for thee and not for me, for these ladies. And that is the face of a man who's completely owned the self-righteous bullshit of a bunch of women.
Yeah. Yep. No, they're like blowing air
Okay.
horns in his face and shit. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, enough of that hero. So should we play more of this? Hook up. I mean, I know she takes a little. Let's just go.
What do you mean?
So first of all, I don't agree with you. If I can just say that I don't agree that we are encouraging monogamy. I think we're encouraging polygamy. And I don't mean marriage polygamy. I mean multiple partners. Young people are hooking up. I wrote an article for the Institute for Family Studies on why the statistics on the hookup culture and what it's doing to young people in terms of their mental health. It's causing them to feel more depressed, more anxious, more embarrassed, having more regrets, self-esteem issues. It's got some major implications, and we're talking the statistics say 72 to 82%, 72% of young men and 82% of women, young women are feeling depressed and anxious after these casual sexual encounters. Tinder.
I'm just pausing for the banana there. So
I really appreciate her. I really appreciate her mentioning men. Like I really, really, really do. She's impressed me so far after the teaser. She's redeemed herself already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I care what she has to say now because yes, more women will have regrets after casual sex than men, but it is, you know, like there's a gap, but it's not that big a gap. It's not like it used to be because casual sex didn't used to be something that that men were as able to engage in. Women have always been able to engage in casual sex. I mean, they could charge men for it, for Christ's sake.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, men not so much. So
I would push back on the idea that it's polygamy that's being pushed. It's polygyny. Let's be honest.
Polygyny, yeah, it's
polygyny. Oh, it's polygyny. Yeah. That's how you say it. Polygyny. Yeah. So it is one man, multiple women. That seems to be the way it all is breaking down at this point.
Yeah, well, you know, 80% of women are chasing 20% of men, and then they're wondering.
It's 5% now.
Yeah, and then they're wondering why no men none of the men that they've had sex with want to settle down with them, and it's like, well, because you're going after solid 8s and you're like a solid 6 after you put on a ton of makeup, and it's just like. Yeah, no, and you can be a solid 6, right? Like a solid 6 in terms of looks and everything, if you bring something else to the table, and land a man who's like, you can punch up as a woman, right? Like bat out of your league as a woman, right? As long as you bring something else to the table, right? Something of value to that man.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, but that's true. what's happening, I think, is, and I guess this speaks to the fact that the panelists in this Diary of a CEO aren't really on the bleeding edge of this. What's happening is that women are wanting to get a man who will commit to them, that will make their girlfriends jealous, which means that they, by definition, have to be punching up. But also, by definition, they don't have those emotional factors that are going to make them very good partners. Because if you just want a partner to make your girlfriends jealous, you're not wife material. You're not partnership material.
It's like basically, you know, like if you can find somebody and your parents say he's not the man I would have picked for you, but I'm not you, right? And if you love him and if he's good to you, right, then he's welcome in the family, blah, 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 you know? But if you can find a man who is like, who appreciates what you have to give him above and beyond sex, right? Then that's excellent. And, you know, for most men, I think even now, the primary thing that they're looking for isn't earning power in a female partner. It's like that's not the top of their list. It's on the list for a lot of men, an increasing number of men these days, as things get more expensive and the cost of living outpaces the you know, anyone's potential earnings. But yeah, no, men are looking for personality things. They're looking for value added things. You know, is she going to help me in my career? Is she going to, you know, support me in my decisions? Is she going to like be there for me when I have a crisis? Right? All of those things, and not be there in a way where it's like, okay, now you owe me, but just be there, right?
Yeah, a companion, somebody to batten down the sails when, you know, the hurricane comes.
Yeah, help me. This is very biblical, right? Like the sort of the role of at least if a woman wants to make a good match, a match that
is worth having, yeah.
she wouldn't have been able to make just on her looks alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen, I'm not sure what to make of it, but I've seen a lot of very good looking men, very fit, with somewhat more dumpy, shall we say, wives, partners.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, it's because those women have low options, and so they actually try to please their man.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not going to walk out the door at the first sign of trouble. The first time he has to take a COVID pay cut, or like gets laid off, or, you know, has a health problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Or look at Pierce Brosnan. He's had the same woman like for a long, long time, and I mean, you know, she's kind of like overweight and everything now, and he was like James Bond, but he doesn't care. So like I think what he sees in her is obviously not what people assume men are looking for in women. So
no, yeah. Well, I actually in Homass server, I discovered an interesting comment by a woman. I'm going to throw it out, see what you guys think. She essentially said when men are looking for, or when men raise their standards, what they want is a woman who lowers her standards. And I was thinking about that really, because it is an interesting comment that when men say, or actually specifically what she said was, when men talk about a good woman for a really long time, because it sounded like a really good critique of the way that men approach dating. But then I thought about it, and it's like, what is the type of woman who so-called lowers her standard? It's the type of woman who takes more on herself, right? And has less of an expectation of her partner to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no. What it is, I think what she's pointing to is there's a woman who like went on tirade on TikTok about, you know, how she's 32 now or something like that, and she's actually looking to settle, and now she's mad at all of her friends and followers and stuff who are telling her not to settle. And, you know, she's, I don't know, I guess for like a 32-year-old, she's 7, like a 7 on the look scale, right? But she's definitely not a 10. And she's like talking about how she's having to settle for a 7 or maybe even a 6. And it's like, well, number one, you shouldn't have waited. You shouldn't have waited till you were 32, because if you were like 25, you probably could have landed yourself a 7 or an 8 or maybe an 8.5. Okay. And you could have nailed him down, right? Locked him in, and you'd be happy now, and you wouldn't have to settle. You wouldn't have to feel like you were settling. And the guy that you married 7 years ago would be better looking than the guys that your friends are all scrambling to settle for now, or end up with cats, right? Okay. But, you know, and but it literally is this situation where, you know, women conflate the idea, right? These two things, these two separate things. Who am I capable of fucking? Who am I capable of forming a committed relationship with? Well, as a 6, on a good night, if he's drunk enough and doesn't have other options, you could fuck a 10. Right? That doesn't mean he's going to marry you. And having to settle for a 6 as a 6 is not settling. Right?
Yeah.
That's not lowering your standards. That means that you were standarding yourself out of the fucking market.
Yeah.
Right?
But to get back,
you were thinking, just because I could get laid by a 10 every once in a while, and maybe an 8, like 3 times a year, right? Okay, just because I could get these guys into my bed for one night with no text message in the morning, that means these are the guys who are in my league. No, they're not. They're not. And having to mate laterally as opposed to up does not mean you're settling. It's just how things work, right? And this is the breakdown of monogamy, right? The breakdown of monogamy and the sexual revolution, the fact that anybody can have sex and you're not allowed to judge them unless they're a man, and she felt bad afterwards. Okay. You know, like this whole throwing out the rule book on how to pair up means that you have all of these women who have set their sights on unattainable men, and they won't settle for anything less than these unattainable men, right? And I'm like, and then when they have to settle for somebody at their level, they're like, now I'm lowering my standards. How dare we expect women to lower their... I'm sorry, there's not enough 8s to go around.
Yeah, and just listening to you and thinking about what she said about how a good men think that a good woman is someone who lowers her standards. I think that that's a very entitled approach, or a very entitled attitude for a woman to take, because I think what's really happening is a woman who values a man as a companion will mate laterally. They will take a dude who is within her earnings and looks bracket, because they want a companion. And it's incredible arrogance to say that men who want a woman who value them as a companion are somehow wrong for doing so. It's looking at the situation from a point of incredible privilege, because for the most part, at least up until recently, men valued women as companions. Far more men valued women as companions than apparently women value men as companions. So that gives... it gives women a privilege in the dating landscape that they will most likely find a partner who values them as a companion in and of themselves. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. And I agree with what you're saying too. And I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. No, maybe I am, Karen. I'm right and you're wrong.
Okay, guys,
All
I
right,
got a super chow here. So
cool.
Yep, I'm gonna read it. So Zaranx gave us $10. Thank you, Zaranx, for the super chow, and says, a request for Karen. Please tell me if I'm wrong here. The Industrial Revolution separated women from the stoic matriarchs, and the matrons who became de facto princesses sat in the matriarch seats unearned and developed ideas that they propagated on the maidens coming after them. From there, every subsequent cycle resulted in the forever assembly line of matriarchs like Faye Weldon, quote, older women don't have children, feminism is good for young women, end quote, matrons like Simone de Beauvoir, and maidens following suit.
No. It changed the role of the matriarchs. Okay, because matriarchs have always existed, right? Like you had two heads of the family, right? The nominal head, the figurehead, was the man, and he had jurisdiction over a lot of different things, right? But the wife, right? She had jurisdiction over a whole bunch of things. And you look at a lot of, old families, Victorian and earlier, a lot of them were kind of these big extended families that were effectively ruled by the matriarch, right? The grandmother or the great grandmother, who kind of, her word was law with everybody, right? So not with her husband was usually dead by then, right? But with her sons and her daughters-in-law and her sons-in-law, and all of, everyone generationally, like women had a huge role in being in charge of the family. You go into like the Greeks and their oikos, and this is way back when like a family operated as a business, right? And women were in charge of a ton of things to do with the household business, right? The business of the family, right? Including who was allowed to be invited for dinner, right? If she didn't like that salesman or that merchant that you wanted to do business with, if she didn't like him, he wasn't getting invited for dinner, right? So I mean, like it's not necessarily that there were never matriarchs. It's that the matriarchs changed their tune and basically were like, okay, so now we're against the patriarchs. Now we don't like the patriarchs, these men that we chose to marry. We resent them and we hate them, and we want our maiden daughters to follow suit, right? And to be husbandless and childless, to hate men and all of that. I think it's not a matter of women being in charge. I think it's a matter of the teachings and
I have a thought too. Maybe I'll lay it out and you can give your opinion on it. I think that he's onto something, but it's a little bit like when the Industrial Revolution happened and we lost this extended family, I believe that women lost, like the matriarchs lost this sense of control over other women, or an extended group of other women. And there's something interesting that I read about romance fiction, and that is that when you're writing a romance fiction, you need to keep something in mind, that the male character, the alpha male, is also the head generally of a hierarchy of women. So, for example, Christian Grey has all of his secretaries and the other women who are working for him, and it almost seems like he only hires women. And then you have like the prince, the typical prince or aristocracy, and usually they would have a household, like a female housekeeper and all the maids and everything. And so the idea is that the female lead in romance isn't just getting this man; she's also becoming the head of a hierarchy of women. And I wonder if the Industrial Revolution and sort of removing that from women's lives left a emotional void, which was filled by feminism, because feminism gives feminists almost like an ideological control, an authority over other women. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think?
Oh, I think that the Industrial Revolution did a few things, and one of those things was take fathers out of homes.
Yeah.
Right. And like not like take them out of homes in the sense that we think of now with single motherhood, but take them out of the home for like 8 to 12 to 13 to 14 hours a day. Right. Where, because if you're working at a tannery, have you ever smelled a tannery? Like an old fashioned tannery where they use like manure to tan the leather. Right. It's not great. Right. And so you didn't live near where you worked. Right. The pollution that was put out by factories and things like that. Right. Even if you were lower class, you tried to work as far away from home as possible, or live as far away from work as possible because of the pollutants and everything. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And, like when we were agrarian, the farm was the family. And even in terms of professions, right? The profession was the family, or trades. The trade was the family. And now it's like once the Industrial Revolution came along and, women got a job here and the wife got a job here and the man got a job there and the kids got jobs because they couldn't afford to go to school and everybody was working in different places and they would all come home and spend like an hour together. I think it really impacted the families in a negative way. And if you were lucky, right, you were white collar and your wife stayed home and looked after the kids because the kids didn't need to work and to support the family, but you were still away from the home for like hours and hours and hours a day. And keep in mind, it wasn't a 5-day work week. It was a 6 or 6.5 day work week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do a bit more because I know that you probably have quite a few time codes to get through there, Brian.
It's okay if we don't get through them all. I'm not expecting to. But I got another super channel that I probably should read from Richard Bier, who gives us $5 and says, if you use metric conversion, wouldn't an ordinary 6 in imperial convert to an 8 in metric, though? Unrelated question. Will there be a trampoline at the Calgary meetup or not?
No.
So thank you for your input.
There will not only be no trampoline, Richard, there will be no girls jumping on trampolines.
Well, because there's no trampolines. But there will be girls.
There's no, but,
I mean, there will be females present.
There won't be girls jumping up and down to make their boobs jiggle, Richard.
No.
Okay.
Maybe to move their lymph through their bodies. Because they're old.
Let's not get into lymph here.
I'm gonna play more of this.
You've seen a lot of it lately, so I understand.
Has an ad that says "Meet the love of your night." What it does is it takes something so sacred and intimate, and it turns it into something not just casual, but it turns it into something irrelevant, unimportant, and dangerous, if you ask me.
Should I keep playing, or are you just agreeing?
No, I agree. Dangerous to both parties.
Yeah, I think there's effects that we're not privy to, or we have
different dangers, right? She could get raped. He could be falsely accused, or he could get raped. Like it's like,
you could lose a kidney.
Get a disease.
Get a disease. Maybe not lose a kidney, but this isn't China, Alison.
Okay, let's keep going.
Not yet, anyway.
Dangerous, and it can be physically dangerous. If you're having casual sex, you could get a sexually transmitted disease. AIDS is still around. I think, in a way, what we've taught our kids, and what I encourage the young people that I work with is that experiment with sex. Care about the people that you're experimenting with. Find people who care about you and who you care about. So that structure.
Can I just counter about this sort of idyllic option of monogamy? In the United Kingdom, the police receive a domestic abuse-related call every 30 minutes.
Oh, good. And yes, you know what? I need to get in on this.
Less than 24%
I
of
need to get in
domestic
on
abuse crime
this.
is reported to.
Go ahead.
This
Go ahead, Alison.
This is the feminist linchpin. This is what they used to destroy monogamy. And this is why the traditionalists, if they do not directly contradict their statistics on domestic violence and sexual assault, will not get nowhere. This is what they use. This is what feminists use to destroy the family, which is this idea that husbands are a unique danger to their wives. That is not the case. And if husbands are a unique danger to their wives, wives are also a unique danger to their husbands. And yet, actually, the reality is that a married couple is least likely to experience crime, least likely to experience depression, least likely to experience poverty. So under all metrics, married women are actually better off than any other group of women. And yet feminists will hang on to the domestic violence stats by their freaking fingernails, even though if we just look at the stats of male perpetration, most of that happens in these vague situationships as well, or just unmarried partnerships. So, but this is what they use. This is what they use to drive a wedge between the sexes, and this is what they use to destroy the concept of marriage. So you have to understand the statistics on domestic violence. Now, in the UK, the statistics on domestic violence are not based on randomized anonymous surveys like they are in the US. They're based on crime surveys, which is a massive undercount of male victims. They are not accurate, but what's really
female perpetrators.
And female perpetrators. It will result in a massive undercount of male victims and female perpetrators. But what's really interesting is that feminists like this will not just assert that men are more likely to be violent in marriages, they will assert that men use that violence against women to uphold patriarchy. And then they'll use crime stats to prove it in the UK. And yet, crime stats are statistics about what? They're statistics about what our society chooses to spend a god-awful amount of money to prevent and to punish, right? And they are using those statistics to support the notion that men are using these crimes in order to maintain patriarchy. And so it's this entire spaghetti ball of nonsense. And it's cooked.
Yeah, because our society is patriarchal, and that's why it only cares about women's safety.
Yeah, women's safety. And so they use all of these statistics, and what they're trying to do is destroy the family. And it's a lie. In the UK, you absolutely cannot. When we're dealing with the idea of male victimization in terms of domestic violence and sexual assault, we haven't even conceived of this. Like, it's only been a generation where we've even thought about this seriously. And then suddenly we know what the prevalence is. And even feminists will say, well, men don't report. And yet in the same breath, they'll say, but we know exactly how many male victims there are. And and they're definitely less.
Way less.
They're way less than women. That's nonsense. It's one or the other. And the truth is that we have, as a society, we have only just begun to start to care about violence against men. We've only begun to start to track it. So there's no way we know how many victims they are relative to women. And there are now statistics coming out suggesting that the number of male victims is comparable. So this entire narrative that she's spewing, it's old, it's broken. And if this individual
it was outdated in the early 90s.
It was outdated in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they just kept pushing and pushing it. And there's a lot of motivated reasoning in the research on domestic violence and sexual assault by feminists, because they're trying to prove that men use these things to uphold patriarchy. So all of this is absolutely corrupted, and the end goal seems to be destroy the family. So if you are from a conservative or traditionalist position and you're not up to date on the actual statistics on domestic violence and sexual assault, you are handing feminists the win when it comes to the destruction of the family.
Yep.
And that's what she's doing. And this is what they use. They use it for. They make husbands a danger to their wives, and they're not. The safest place, the absolute safest place in the world for a woman is at home with her husband.
Yep. Same with kids.
Same with kids. At home with their father.
With their mom and dad.
Okay.
All right. Should we play
biological parents?
Yeah.
She's still spitting. She's still spitting BS. So let's listen
to the police. 1 in 4 women in England and Wales will experience domestic abuse in her lifetime.
Notice the way she does. Wait, not just what she's saying, but notice the way that she delivers this information.
Oh yeah, I thought she was a comedian. I thought she was a fucking comedian.
No, it's like she's trying to bring the gravitas to this. Okay,
yeah,
let's pay attention to the way she does this.
Okay, she needs to start channeling Alison, some Bill Burr or something.
Karen, you're
I know. Right. I'm a little bit off right now.
Yeah.
There we go. See,
we all have bad days. It's okay. Yeah, it's beautiful.
she needs beautiful, off screen. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
On average, nearly 2 women are killed a week in this country. And I know that America has a similar story, but probably worse because there's guns.
Oh no, nearly 2 women are killed a week? 2 women a week.
That's 108. It's a statistical anomaly in a country of what, 100 million, 150 million?
60,
how many is it?
60, 70 million, something like that in the UK.
Yeah, that is a statistical blip.
Yeah, no, and on top of that, okay, who's killing their wives? Is it one of these people?
It's not all husbands killing their wives. It's
but is it one of these husbands who like cuts off his wife's head and walks down the back alley with her and with the bloody machete in his hand, talking about how she was not a houri but a whore?
No, I get what you're saying. Like, what ethnicity is this coming? But regardless, like, it is a statistical blip. They are making something tiny into something huge. Sorry, like, somebody has to say it.
Yep.
There are more children. There are more boys who die from circumcision in a year than women who die from their husbands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about how you say it. Because if you say this many in every 30 seconds or this many in a week or in like, it just sounds like, oh my God, how could that happen?
Yeah, well,
right. A day. Yeah.
It's 104. Again, we're talking about the UK. The feminists are like, in the UK, the feminists control the statistics completely. Yep. Like in the US, there might be a little bit.
Same with Australia.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of a distance. So what she's saying to us are statistics that are curated by feminists to create a particular landscape. And still, it's 104 out of a population of over 60 million. And that includes, by the way, because they don't keep track of it, women killed by other women. And I was actually looking, like somebody pointed out the statistics in, I believe, around the world from the UK. And it's actually pretty close. Like it's 45% of the victims are men, 60 or 55 are women. And it usually goes between like 60-40. So 60% of the victims are women, 40% are men.
Of what? Spousal homicide?
Of domestic homicide, basically.
Okay.
And that also includes other relatives killing their. Yeah. So, I mean, this entire narrative is wrong. And I'm not going to apologize this for anymore. This is a statistical blip. 104? Could this be any more meaningless in terms of the overall reality of married women? Yep. They're probably more likely to break their head open on a bathtub.
Yeah.
But if it saves one life.
Okay. Well, then
but if the lie saves one life, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
If it destroys like 20 million lives, but saves one.
But didn't COVID vaccines teach you anything, Alison? If the COVID vaccine keeps one person out of the hospital, one person with COVID out of the hospital, even though it sends 4 people to the hospital with irreversible heart damage, it was worth it.
All right,
yes,
let's play some more of this. But yeah, let's keep going.
This is around the world. It's the same in Australia.
Cancelled now.
It is not an either or. It's not that women were so happy and fulfilled in the 1950s because their husbands would go to work. And I mean, watch Mad Men, which is it's a sort of research.
No, it's not. Oh, for the love of
watch
God.
Mad Men, guys. Why do research? Here's a TV show.
Are you? I can't believe that this is credible. Watch
she wrote many books. Account. She hosts a podcast. Top of her game.
Based on feminism. Feminism constructed this fictional account of the 50s, yo. It's totally accurate.
Yeah, Mad Men takes place in the 60s, but yeah.
It's like the Adolescence movie. The feminists do a fictional account of a school killing, and now it's the truth.
Well, apparently Doc Holliday, according to my mom, Doc Holliday existed in a weird quasi-supernatural Old West where like there were vampires and stuff, and there was also this mad scientist who was punished by the supernaturals and turned into a potted plant that could talk. You want to learn about the Wild West? Read those books.
When feminists start losing the academic arguments, they start making the cultural arguments. I think this is a pivot on purpose. I know history. Here's all of this data. Well, actually, this is the way the history was. You know what? You should watch this TV show.
It's not even cultural. There are some cultural artifacts that I will say are accurate, right? Some of the like the movies or TV shows or whatever that have been made today, right? Recently about incidents in the past, right? Chernobyl. Anybody who wants to see a giant clusterfuck unfolding in real time, watch that show, right? That TV series. I think it was on Netflix or Paramount or freaking Crave or I forget where, right? Amazing series, right? Amazing critique of communism and communist structures, right? And anybody who wants to kind of know what World War I and World War II were like should watch 1918 for World War I and Saving Private Ryan for World War II, right? And just don't necessarily pay attention to the individual plot line, like the actual, central plot. Just pay attention to everything that's happening in the surrounding scene, right? In the on the ground, surrounding everything. And you can immerse yourself in that and you can believe that the setting, right, is genuine. The setting, maybe not the details of the story, but the setting itself is what it was actually like. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Mad Men is just feminist revisionist history, right?
Yeah, you want to know the guy that Don Draper, he wasn't, I mean they shuck and jive about how we didn't model him it on the original Draper. I don't remember what his first name. But the fact is that man was an ad executive, but he got married to a fellow ad executive. Do you know that? She was a working woman. They got married, I believe, in their late 30s. And he respected her enough that he stopped smoking because of her.
Oh.
Yeah. The Draper Daniels. And his life was completely different. He married a woman who was the boss lady of her time, an account executive, and I don't even think they had children. So it was a very unconventional marriage by the standards of the time, and they turned that man into Don Draper, like, and they excuse it by saying, "Oh well, he's based on multiple guys and blah blah blah." Bullshit. Then
He's
don't
an
use his
amalgam,
name.
Alison.
Well,
He's an amalgam.
they're trying to rewrite history through our
Yeah.
entertainment. A lot of people won't read history books or, you know, biographies or accounts or anything like that, but they'll watch a good show for entertainment. And so if that's the message you push out there constantly, then people will absorb it and that'll just become their new normal. Like, well, I saw Mad Men, so I know what the 60s was like. I mean, even people who probably lived in the 60s saw it and thought, yeah, that's about right. Yeah. So, I mean, like, you'll find some, you know, media out there that does a piece of historical fiction justice, or even like, you know, maybe they'll make it a fictional story, but have it take place in a real time and do justice to that. But a lot of the time, if not most of the time, whenever there's something like that, they're trying to twist things, and sometimes they just do a little bit of a turn, a little change, you know, and it makes a significant difference because it's a way of rewriting the canon of history, the canon of everything that we have had. And I think that that's where a lot of these mythologies come from, is our media. And I think that's why, you know, not to hijack this conversation, but I think that's why this woman, who is I don't know if you guys can tell, but she is let's say the most radical person on the panel, but not by a lot. I know the other woman is really reasonable, but she's still a woman. So there's a lot of agreeableness going on. And that's why she's saying you should, you know, she might as well have said, watch The Handmaid's Tale. It predicts the future. Like, she might as well have said that.
Yeah. So
or it's literally what life was like back in, you know, in the 1400s or some shit.
Yeah. So someone was saying the 50s were worse than Mad Men. Why do feminists, and I think this is from Aaron Rodriguez, why do feminists always focus on the 50s? Sometimes the 20s is like the penultimate or the ultimate expression of male privilege. Why do they always give the 30s a miss, or the 40s, or the 10s? Why is that?
I don't know why. I don't know why. I think
sometimes you get like the Victorian era, you know, but for some reason we just skip over the 10s for the ultimate expression of male privilege, and then we skip over the 30s for the ultimate expression of male privilege, and the 40s, and we hit on the 50s, and somehow nobody ever calls them out on that. Why they're cherry picking history for the ultimate expression of male privilege, and they selectively remove certain
all of the
decades
wars
from consideration,
all of the wars and all of the Great Depression
and all the lineups of men starving, and all of the men dying in trenches, and all of the very obvious in your face demonstration of the
women get to live in like in group houses, you know, eating like a pittance, right? The men are out with their little, what are those bags on a stick that you put over your shoulder? They're just out hopping trains, trying to find work.
Yeah. Why do they always skip those decades? Feminists, why do you skip those decades when you're talking about the time of great male privilege? Why do you always choose the decades, the few decades where men are actually treated like they have some value? After having sacrificed massively to maintain society, you know, a massive sacrifice in the 40s, and then suddenly men go back and they're like, oh, these guys did a good thing and we're going to treat them with some value. And then feminists look back and say, that was the time. The big celebration.
Oh yeah, no. And that was, like, okay, so Warren Farrell, he brought up some statistics ages ago, right? That in the 1920s, roughly equal numbers of men and women in America attended post-secondary education. And it was often different forms of post-secondary education, but they got like college degrees, university degrees, stuff like that, right? And then, you know, in the 1950s, that all changed. Why did that change?
The GI Bill.
The GI Bill. You could, if you'd served your country and you survived, you could get money to put a down payment on a house, or to start a business, or to get an education.
Yep. So the 50s, essentially what happened was all the male survivors of the 40s got something in the 50s.
Yeah.
And feminists hone in on it like, well, why didn't we?
That was unfair.
That was unfair. All men had to do was war. It was unfair.
We volunteered to work in munitions factories.
We deserve it too. Like, oh God.
Okay, yeah. Did you volunteer? Did you not volunteer and get sent out to get shot anyway? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You volunteered. You could have just stayed at home with your parents.
We
right?
made a big sacrifice. We did the jobs that men usually do.
Yeah, that was a huge sacrifice.
Maybe the reason why they're always attacking the 50s is because there's something appealing about the 50s. And they know that if like it looked appealing, I'm not saying that it is what they claim it is, because I think it's another mythology, but I think that, like, at least aesthetically, they see it as an appealing thing, that if too many people saw it as good, they might want to live that way. And that's why they're terrified, because that's why they'll choose that specific time, you know? So, but anyway, we should listen to more of this.
All right.
For women then and men, and how, you know, Don Draper would go off into the city. He would have a fulfilling career. Then he would sleep with any number of women and come home to his wife, who knew he was having affairs, who could sense it.
Okay, wait a second. Wait a second.
All right. Yeah. We could jump to a different time code.
No.
Okay.
Isn't she for hookup culture?
Only for women, Alison.
Yeah, but how could this like?
No,
who the heck
she's
is
saying
Don
okay.
Draper?
If Don Draper
but
is
she's
hooking
saying
up,
that
if Don Draper is hooking up with any number of women, then any number of women are hooking up with Don Draper. Okay, so that's hookup culture. Just because it's there's one guy and multiple women, that doesn't make it any different from today. Okay.
Yeah, and I know that she's trying to say that this was just for men or something. But
well, monogamy, basically, she's trying to say that monogamy will only
no, and he comes home and his wife pretends she knows it's happening, but she pretends, she acts like it doesn't. Yeah, you know why? Because she knows what side of the bread her butter's on. That's why.
But also, like, if men did this was a time where they could get hit by heart bomb laws. Sure. They could be jailed for casual sex.
Oh, yeah, no, they could be jailed for heart bomb and seduction laws.
Yeah,
because seduction was still on the books.
See, even though he, like, his wife might not have had any recourse, even though there was divorce in the 50s, and women did get divorces, especially in the 40s. I learned recently that the rate of divorce is similar in the 40s as it was today, except, you know, there was more marriage, so it wasn't proportionate. But regardless, so women could get divorces in that time. But even if Peggy, I guess it was, or whoever he was married to, didn't have any recourse, the women he seduced did, if they wanted.
Yeah, and you know, Peggy had recourse too, right? Because, you know, what do you have? Yes, she had to have grounds at the time, right? Well, what are the grounds for women? Infidelity plus some other grounds, which could be neglect or cheating, neglect or abuse or abandonment. Well, if he's gone all the time,
she's got neglect and abandonment.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like, there was recourse at the time for women. And also, all of the women that he seduced, any one of them could have probably got him on a heart bomb or seduction law. So what you this is why you can't just feminists just imagine some fictional scenario, apply it to the past, and then start saying, well, but it was like this, but it wasn't. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go to a different time code, Brian? It seems like...
Yeah, I can jump ahead to something else. They talk about, let's see, the pressure of freedom versus traditional expectations. So maybe like right about here.
Had to be a certain
Oh,
way.
let me go back a little bit.
No,
They
that's not
shouldn't
what young people
But
Yeah, this is okay. Louise Perry, I think.
there's also an expectation that you're supposed to experiment a bit in the meantime, and it's kind of actually weird to be a virgin on your wedding night. And I think that, yes, I mean, girls have to tread this really difficult tightrope where on the one hand they are at risk of slut shaming, but they're also at risk of being called frigid. If there's, I mean, they are much, much more at risk actually of being called frigid than in previous generations. And
how come we never talk about the tightrope that boys walk? Like, on the one hand, they have to take the initiative. On the other hand, taking the initiative makes them a rapist.
Yeah.
You know,
Like-
more and more men, young Zoomer men, are actually like taking like performance enhancing drugs to like get the right body to attract women than in previous generations. Like a lot of guys are like doing, you know, they're juicing, they're taking, so that they can look like something that women find attractive. They're actually having a bunch of body image issues now. So.
Yeah, no, and they're also like increasingly getting penile enhancement surgeries and
leg lengthening surgeries to make themselves smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's insane. You know, like I'm just glad that my boys never fell into that kind of trap. Sam decided he was going to lose weight just because he wanted to lose weight because he was a bit of a pudge, and he did it the proper way, which was eating keto. And then he just happened to grow another like 5.5 inches at the same time, and he slimmed right down. And no, but he just eats healthy and chicken shawarma salad, you know, all that.
All right, let's keep going though. This is not the good bit.
Social judgment around our sexual choices is probably not realistic. I think that basically that's what humans are like. We do just tend to be judgmental about this. But anyway, I don't think it's very wise to subject girls to this experience, is how I would put it. To say that you have to go through the hookup culture.
I know people who are opting out. I know young people who are absolutely opting out. They're not no freedom at all.
I'm going to agree with her and say freedom has become a pressure. There's become a societal pressure to be free. So
I know many young people who are opting out of the apps.
Okay, I'm a therapist, and I see so many young people, and I give lectures, and people come up to me. So I can say, and I write books about adolescence, and I'm going to say that mostly the term hookup culture is used between 15 and 30. So you're correct in saying a 32-year-old woman should have the right to have sex with whoever the hell she wants to have sex with. And I'm right there with you. She should have choice, whatever. But as
long as they want her.
Young men who are developing emotionally, mentally.
Should not have the right.
No.
They shouldn't not have.
Can I finish?
Yeah,
shouldn't have the right. Like, is she just automatically knee jerking when she says young men, and she's like, they should not have the right?
I don't know. Yeah, she doesn't. Let me let her finish.
Okay. Sorry. So you interrupted, so I didn't get to finish.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. So they're more vulnerable. They are more vulnerable emotionally to what the hookup culture does to them. There's a lot of research to say that it causes loneliness, depression, anxiety, tons of regret, embarrassment, shame, self-esteem issues. And so, of course, we want freedom. In fact, I'm probably more in agreement with you.
Can you pause it for a second? I'm trying to clarify something. Is she saying that in young men that is
Yeah.
causing?
Both young
She's
men
saying-
and young women.
But she's saying in young men, that's the shame and all of that, that this freedom thing has become a pressure. This idea of sexual liberation is having a negative impact And it's putting people, like young people, in particular boys and men, in a position where, you know, they're feeling anxious, they're lonely, because maybe...
Then why did she just immediately beak off like they should not have the right? She brings us up young men, and the feminists is like, they shouldn't have the right. It's like, well, okay, but nothing was specified about rights.
No, nothing was.
No. Well, okay.
It's like your knee jerk. As soon as a man is brought off, take away his rights.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
like,
okay. Okay. If we could go back and listen again.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll shut up.
All right, I'll go back to like right here. We'll listen from here.
As you're not cool. Young women are told, you don't want too high a body count. You're going to get slut shamed. So you're talking about 18-year-olds who don't know themselves yet, and you're saying when the men are scarce a resource, it's one way, women another way. That is exactly what I would expect to see.
You're talking about 18-year-olds that don't know themselves yet.
What we are currently experiencing in our sexual culture, where yes, there's some structure, yes, there are some rules, but we are much, much more sexually, not just liberal, but even libertine than, say, the sexual culture of our grandparents or whatever. I think everyone ought to be able to agree on that. There clearly is a change now in the sexual culture from previous generations, and it's mostly to do with the pill, as I argue. But the expectation is kind of, as you say, that you just have to figure it out. Like, there isn't a very clear template. Yes, maybe there is. I think that Deborah, you're actually right that most people do in the end aspire to monogamy and having children and everything. But there's also an expectation that you're supposed to experiment a bit in the meantime, and it's kind of actually weird to be a virgin on your wedding night. And I think that, yes, I mean, girls have to tread this really difficult tightrope where on the one hand they are at risk of slut shaming, but they're also at risk of being called frigid. If that's, I mean,
at least they don't have to do the tightrope of potentially going to jail, like men do and boys.
Mm-hmm.
Little different stakes there.
Okay, but just keep going.
All right.
Yeah, we're just doing a bit of a banana there.
Being called frigid than in previous generations, and the idea that we can escape from social judgment around our sexual choices is probably not realistic. I think that basically that's what humans are like. We do just tend to be judgmental about this. But anyway, I don't think it's very wise to subject girls to this experience, is how I would put it. To say that you have to go through the hookup culture.
I know people who are opting out. I know young people who are absolutely opting out. They're not no freedom at all.
I'm going to agree with her and say freedom has become a pressure. There's become a societal pressure to be free. So
I know many young people who are opting out of the apps.
Okay, I'm a therapist, and I see so many young people, and I give lectures, and people come up to me. So I can say, and I write books about adolescence, and I'm going to say that mostly the term hookup culture is used between 15 and 30. So you're correct in saying a 32-year-old woman should have the right to have sex with whoever the hell she wants to have sex with. And I'm right there with you. She should have choice, whatever. But young women, young men who are developing emotionally, mentally.
Should not have the right.
No.
Wait. Oh, okay. So that's the context of her saying should not have the right. So when
they do have the right. They do have the right. But there's a difference. There's a difference between... Okay, just there's a difference between having a right and being encouraged or pressured to exercise it. Okay? I have the right to like go out and protest whatever the fuck I want. Apparently, I mean, like, I guess I'm risking 7 or 8 years in prison in Canada right now for that. But you know, I have the right not to, right? Nobody. This isn't about rights. This is about behavior that should be encouraged, right?
Versus
or discouraged.
But I just want to point out that when I've seen the whole context of this woman, when a woman is brought up, she says she should have the right. And this woman just brought up men and boys. And then she says they should not have the right.
No. That's not what she's saying. She's putting words in the other woman's mouth. Oh, so they shouldn't have the right. They shouldn't have the right to participate in hookup culture is what you're saying. So she just failed to say, so what you're saying is they shouldn't have the right.
Yeah, she was trying to finish the other woman's sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going then.
So let's keep going.
finish?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, sorry. So you interrupted, so I didn't get to finish.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so they're more vulnerable. They are more vulnerable emotionally to what the hookup culture does to them. There's a lot of research to say.
She's talking about the boys now, that they're more vulnerable to what, because remember, hookup culture, you know, it sounds fine and dandy, but only a very small number of men are going to benefit from that.
That it causes loneliness, depression, anxiety, tons of regret, embarrassment, shame, self-esteem issues. And so, of course, we want freedom. In fact, I'm probably more in agreement with you on most things than you think. But in this, I say that freedom can become its own prison. So if you think about the early feminists, the really early feminists, Mary Wollstonecraft, Mary Shelley, those women were fighting patriarchy. They were fighting a system that said they had to be a certain way. So of course I don't accept what Iran does to women. I mean, that, you know, but what's happened is if the pendulum swings too far.
What does Iran do to women?
Have a different kind.
Like if you actually look beyond
what
I've
women
seen,
ask, I assume. I mean, go ahead.
But I've seen streams of YouTubers just going into Iran, and you just walking down the street, and there are women without headscarves.
Not anymore. Not recently.
No, that was recent. It was like a couple months ago. Why did they crack down on that or something?
Oh, they've cracked. Well, they've been cracking down on it for a while, right? Like the whole Iranian freaking uprising that they thought was going to topple the government was about a woman who was tortured and killed for not wearing a hijab.
Okay. All right. So, but they also crack down. If they're cracking down on that, then they're also cracking down on
on men.
On
yes,
of
course.
Men, and that's not even remarked upon because it's
no,
just
of course, it never is. It never is. But okay, but they're cracking down on everyone. Like the Ayatollah is cracking down on everyone, right?
Mm-hmm. Because it's a theocracy, but of course we don't look at the situation for men ever.
No, we don't. And you know,
so I got an interesting comment a while back, and they said someone was saying, well, it's so bad for women in the Middle East, and you just don't know. And I said, well, I lived in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, and every Thursday you could go to Ramadan or not Ramadan, the capital city. It's not Al Khobar. It was Riyadh. Yes, you could go to Riyadh every Thursday and watch men get their hands chopped off.
Yeah.
Not women, men.
Yeah.
Like these severe punishments were reserved for men.
Well, because if a family needed somebody to steal for them, they certainly weren't going to send out the woman.
Yeah. So, but these severe punishments were reserved for men, and just like in our culture, men were more likely to be punished for crimes than women.
Yeah.
They have a lot of the same, I know this might strike people as strange, but Muslims are also gynocentric. They also don't want to punish women.
Yep.
And in the same degrees, and I'm going to get it for that statement, aren't I? They punish men more. There's more reportings of stonings now for men. And definitely, like you wouldn't be able to go to Riyadh and see a woman get her hands chopped off. That wasn't going to happen. So it's something to consider. All right.
Want to play more of this?
Yeah, sure.
Kind of patriarchy on the other side. We say the extreme left and the extreme right actually meet in the middle. And so have we just we never want to take choice away. The idea of taking choice away.
That's okay. I'm not even gonna honor that with a reply. This is not her wheelhouse. I'm just gonna drop that.
From women to have sex with whoever they want to have sex with. That's not the point of this. It's, have we created a society which pressures young women in its own way to be promiscuous, to have lots of experiences? It's not all glorious, freedom. It is glorious, but it's also not all glorious. And it can be a pressure on young people to get rid of their virginity, to have lots
of
experiences. And it's not all it's cracked up to be for them.
Do they ever discuss the millennial shift?
Sorry?
You guys know what the millennial shift is,
that's
right?
where you're talking. What are you talking about?
All right. So the millennial shift is something that researchers into sexual assault have started to notice.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, that doesn't come up.
No, let me explain what it is. What it is that younger women are engaging in sexual assault at higher rates than any group in history. And they don't bring that up. So we're having this conversation, like we're having this entire conversation where these women are concerned about the pressure on young women to engage in sex in a hookup culture. But there's no discussion about these young women's responsibilities in hookup culture, right? There seems to be none. I don't know. I'll have to defer to Brian whether or not that's the case. And yet what we're seeing is this epidemic of young women engaging in sexual assault. And I just find it fascinating because everything is always couched in terms of young women's victimhood by these, and I don't know where else to bring it up. But, and the conversation never goes to young women's responsibilities when it comes to the hookup culture, and it's this idea, and they keep repeating this phrase, and it's why I bring up the millennial shift. A woman has the right to have sex with whomever she wants. No, she doesn't.
Yeah, no.
She doesn't have the right. This is amazing to me because these women are supposedly authorities in their field, and yet they continue to promote this unexamined statement that is sort of rapey.
Okay. Also, okay. Didn't this freaking red-coated bitch say, Don Draper's wife was so hard done by because he was cheating on her with all these other women, right? But women should have the right to have sex with whoever they want. Really?
Yeah,
if they're married?
Yeah, there's this new push now. There's this new push to justify women's cheating. I don't know, the American Psychology or the Psychology Today published an article about how women cheat in order to maintain their relationships, and there's all kinds of Medium articles that are trying to promote this idea of cheating for the woman, the wife, but the man needs to stay faithful. There's there's a whole raft of female sexual immaturity. And that's okay. I mean, they're being selfish. I mean, it's not okay, but it's not horrifying. They're being selfish. They're being immature. They're putting expectations on their partner that they're not living up to. But then you go from the sexual immaturity of young women to the sexual violence and aggression of young women. And none of this is in this conversation. Maybe this pressure that's being put on young women to take part in the hookup culture is leading them to do more extremely morally questionable things, like forcing men and boys to have sex at apparently gunpoint or night point. And I know that sounds really crazy, but that is the statistic that's most alarming about the millennial shift, is that younger women, the younger generations of women are using weapons to force other people to have sex at, I think, 3 times the rate of men in their generation or any generation or any other generation of women. And nowhere is this being discussed. That maybe one effect of this pressure is them literally taking that statement, women have the right to have sex with whomever they want, very literally.
Yeah.
So I mean, they keep throwing that around. They keep throwing that statement around, and they don't think. It just comes out of their mouths completely freely, without
whoever they want also has a right to say no.
Whoever they want also has the right to say no.
And it's if you go back to, like, you remember Professor Rebecca Sullivan of the University of Calgary. I did a video on her. And she was like, oh yeah, the men's rights movement, it appears to be about men's sexual rights, as in if only we could have sex with whoever we want to, whenever we want to, then maybe we wouldn't have to rape you.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that.
What?
Yeah,
Classic.
yeah, no,
that's old. It's classic.
It was
It's
on
classic.
CBC. You don't
it was
remember?
on CBC. It was like an old
Oh
CBC
yeah.
clip.
Oh god, we probably covered it. I think I might have blocked it out of my
Absolutely.
memory.
I did an entire video of her.
She took us saying men have the right to say no and turned it into that.
No, she didn't. She has no idea what the men's rights movement is about.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and she's just like, she was just trying to convince people not to watch the Red Pill. Right? Don't watch it because it's like, this is what these people are about.
Whatever happened to that
she's
woman?
poisoning the well.
And then the host says, "Oh, no wonder they're so controversial." And then Rebecca Sullivan goes, "Yeah, I know. No wonder.
No wonder they're so controversial. You just take face value her lie about what it was.
Yeah.
Who the heck ever even framed it in that way?
Didn't ask a single follow-up question on anything. Didn't push back at all. Didn't say like, well, that doesn't sound like, I mean, like that sounds pretty extreme. What do you have to back that up?
I think that was in response to that poster that I may have been involved, may or may not have been involved in.
No, it wasn't. It was in response to the Red Pill and and a conservative group on the University of Calgary campus writing wanting to do a screening of the Red Pill and with using a provocative, I think it was feminism is cancer. Come see why feminism is cancer or something like that.
Oh, okay. Because I seem to recall that I did a poster in which I pointed out that some feminist professor.
Oh, that was at the University of Alberta in Edmonton.
Yeah, ignoring the fact that men and boys are also subject to sexual assault was rape culture. It was feminist rape culture.
Yeah.
But
I forget what that bitch's name was. I just know
I just
remember that particular professor, she likes to wear clothes that look like your grandmother's sofa upholstery.
Just exploded all over her.
Yeah.
I got something. Merry Christmas. Here it is.
Oh,
this is
God.
her. I'm going to play it for you guys really quick. Just stay quiet. I'm going to play it.
They stand for the right of men to have mostly sexual rights. It's the right of men to engage in any sexual activity that they want and have entitlement to women's bodies. The men's rights movement points to a number of very real issues in our society, that there are very few resources available to men who experience domestic or gender or sexual violence, to the fact that suicide rates are very high for men, incarceration culture, high dropout rates, lowering participation in post-secondary education. These are all very real and pressing and urgent issues. But they go from there immediately to it's women's fault because they are denying men their natural rights as men. Meaning, if only we could just have sex with whoever and whatever we want, whenever we want, then maybe we wouldn't have to rape you.
What? That doesn't even make any sense.
I know.
Oh, men are being dropping out of college. Boys are being marked down by feminist teachers. But the solution that men's rights activists have is that women should no longer be able to say no to sex. What? These things don't even have anything to do with each other.
No, and see, and if she actually was behind what she was talking about there, she would have. Do you remember when we interviewed Nick Redding when he was running for city council?
Patriarchy Party.
Yeah.
Patriarchy Party.
Okay, yes. we interviewed him on the radio, and you said that you said something like I agree with you. We should outlaw the right of women to say no.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, if they can't say no, how am I going to get off? And I was like, and it was just like bang, like it was instant, like it was so fast. I was like, Jesus Christ. That was, yeah, no, but it's like, this is the ridiculous thing about.
I think that was after this. That was us satirizing this nonsense.
No. This was when he was running for city council. It was before this, right? But it's like at least what he said made sense.
Yeah.
Right? If he's a rapey bastard, right? What good is it if he's got a bunch of women who are like jumping all over him, or like at least lying back and thinking of England, right? Yeah, no, the whole point of being a rapey bastard is you're forcing yourself on someone, and while they're saying no. And so it's like, but this woman, she's just like, well, if only we could have sex with whoever and whatever we want, whenever we want to, then maybe we wouldn't have to rape you. And it's just like, okay, wait,
there's something that's not adding up.
How does this fit into like monogamous marriage, or like intact families with daughters and sons who are raised properly,
parental rights?
Yeah, no, it's like,
how does this fit into like protecting men against domestic violence and sexual assault?
How does this factor into anything? Like, the fact that having a father in the house, the biological father in the house, makes the wife and the kids more safe.
Yes, it doesn't. Like, the thing is that it's a non sequitur that's trying to poison the entire conversation.
I know.
I'm guessing that this woman never advocated for any of the men's issues that she brought up. Never pushed for them. Never concerned herself with them. She just basically said, "Yeah, they have genuine issues, but I'm going to spout out a bunch of non sequiturs about them wanting to control women's bodies in order to shut them down."
They're so horrible. These people, they're so horrible that they would take these genuine issues that are genuinely concerning and use them as a smokescreen to try and push their agenda to get men the right to rape with impunity. That's how bad they are. It's not just that they're, like, if they just advocated openly for the right to rape, right, then that would be bad enough. But it's even worse because they're using these genuine issues as a shield, right, to get that horrible agenda across.
Slippery slope. It's a slippery. If you care about men's issues in any capacity, then we're going to be ending up in The Handmaid's Tale, right? And
even The Handmaid's Tale,
logic.
It wasn't a free-for-all for all the guys.
Logic. It's the same logic of, if we expect women to take any responsibility, bam, Afghanistan.
Yeah, no, and even in The Handmaid's Tale, okay, there were a select few men who got those privileges. It wasn't just a free-for-all. Oh, all men have the right to have sex with any woman they want, whenever they want.
I think Brian has queued up another.
Yeah, so I'm running out of time here because I got to go soon. But
yeah, I got to go jumpstart my T-Bird too.
Yeah. So I thought we would jump ahead. I think that there's a lot of good meat on this particular bone that we can go into, but we didn't get that far. But I do want to at least jump up to this.
Well, let me ask you, Karen, do you have any time this Friday, maybe?
Maybe. Okay. I have to help my daughter sort out her short-term disability insurance. So this week.
Okay. So, well, maybe Karen can come back to this.
Okay. All right. Well, let's play this clip. I'm jumping ahead a bit to where the woman in red, I believe that one is, let me just check, Deborah Francis White. She gets a bit triggered.
Nope, it's muted.
Yeah,
muted. Oh, I'm not sharing that. Wait, it's muted? You guys can't hear it?
Yeah, it's muted. No, we can't hear it, dude.
Let me hold on. Let me share a different tab and then switch it back. Hold on.
Yeah, it's probably just tab stacking.
let me just yeah, it's okay. So we'll go back to this Rebecca Sullivan thing, and then I will go to this one and see if you hear it now.
Nope.
Okay,
what the heck
is that? What's going on? Let me see something. Yeah, you're right. It's not. Okay. Let me just I'll just have to share it over again. So
Yeah.
just a second, guys.
Yeah. We'll just stay in a holding pattern, waiting for this.
Yeah. Well, it's back. It's
like.
okay.
Okay. All right. There we go.
All right. Let's see.
To help people understand that we have denigrated maybe one of the most important work you can do, instead of elevating it, instead of admiring women for staying home and dealing with the boring moments and dealing with the hardships and dealing with the sleepless.
She's promoting motherhood in this. This is the context. There's a section about traditional gender roles, but that's what the Diary of the CEO titled it. But they're sort of like having a bit of a back and forth about it. So
and the frustration, it's much easier to go to work. It's much easier to leave your children in daycare or with a nanny.
No, it's not.
You have to, believe me. But it is much easier if you have a choice to go to work, because being out of the house it's harder work staying home. So why aren't we admiring the women who are staying home and doing?
It's not harder work staying home.
Okay, here's okay. Let's listen to this bit.
I agree that parenting is difficult work. I agree that raising the next generation is extremely valuable. I agree that the people who do it, whoever they are, should be respected and should be paid in the way that we live in a capitalist society. And if we don't put a value on it, or we don't create tax breaks around it, or have child endowment around it, we then say it's not important. So I absolutely agree with all of that.
So the government should pay for your kids.
I do not agree that women.
Well, okay, let me get in here for a second. Women who stay at home, statistically, women who stay at home do half the work of everyone else, and now we also have to pay for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, honestly, any woman who has had kids, okay, who says it's harder to stay at home than it is to go to work. It's harder to deal with the boredom of home than it is to deal with the boredom of work. Okay. It's harder to stay at home and look after your kids and deal with the frustrations of dealing with the kids than it is to deal with the frustrations of work. Okay. It's harder. Okay. Yes, it is harder financially. Okay. It's easier psychologically, right? I don't understand these fucking women who can have a baby. Okay. They can have a fucking baby, and at 6 weeks or 6 months old, they can hand it over to total fucking strangers. Okay. And not feel like the fact that this fucking psychologist, who I said had redeemed herself, right, earlier. Yeah, no, I take that back. It is psychologically really, really hard on a woman, okay, to, within the first 6 months, to even be not in the same room as their kids, right? You're always listening. This is why you have baby monitors when you put your kid down for a nap, because they might need something and you're on the other side of the house and you maybe can't hear them, right? And you know that they're so helpless that if they get into some kind of trouble and, or some kind of pain or some kind of distress, and you cannot hear them, right? Then, that's going to cause you psychological trauma. That's going to cause you psychological harm, right? Like this idea that we can just we can gestate them for 9 whole months and we can get to know them as they're in the womb. And we do actually get to know them as they're in the womb, because they're all different. They all behave differently in the womb, right? And then you go through that process of giving birth, and you're flooded with the bonding hormones and everything. And then you nurse them at your breast, and you want to sleep next to them in the bed with you. and all of this stuff. And then, okay, 6 months old or 6 weeks in some places. Okay, just hand them over to strangers and trust that they'll still be alive at the end of the day. And then you spend your entire day at work, right? Your entire fucking day at work going like, oh my fucking God, is my child still alive, right?
Mm.
That's the way the hormones are supposed to work when you're a new mother. Okay? And these women either have never had kids to be able to say that it's easier to go to work. Yeah, it's more, maybe it's more work, because if you don't have maternity leave payments, if you don't have the money to rely on, right, and you have to make the budget work without your income, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fucking work. But the idea that it's just easier, if it's easier for you to go to work, you have the easiest fucking job on the fucking planet, which is just sitting around, writing some books, maybe even while sitting on the couch at home watching your kids, right? Like you're doing something fulfilling that's really personally fulfilling to you as your job, right? You have a career, you don't have a job, okay? Those of us who had jobs, right, who get to go and do all the same shit, cook the food, dish it up, serve it out, right? Field complaints, right? Because that's your whole day as a mother. And then clean up, okay? That's your whole day as a mother. Yeah, I'd rather do that at home than at Tony Roma's.
Okay. So ultimately, I think Karen's point is that this is nonsense, that it's harder to stay at home. It isn't. And
it's only harder financially. It's only harder financially if you don't have maternity leave.
Is that not only do women who stay at home work less than everybody else, they're also saying we need to pay for them. Your husband pays for you. The end. Move on. Yeah. All right. Okay. Somebody who has invested in the genetic offspring that you are raising pays for you. Nobody else, none of us should have to pay.
I don't have a problem with giving tax breaks to people who have kids. It reduces the requirement to bring in immigrants, right?
Okay.
That's a different kind of benefit. But look, yeah. That's not the point I wanted to play. I don't know if I have time, but I'm going to play her reaction, because she's about to say that she started by saying,
of course,
we're putting a linchpin. So let's listen.
Out when it said women shouldn't have to be the ones that visit the neighbor and do all the unpaid labor around in the community. I think that should be unpaid labor in the community is important, but that's why they call it community and not women's work. It's a community effort. So I should do it, but I should also get to go to work in the writer's room. And my husband should do it, and he should go and get to do his job. So I think a lot of times today, maybe without meaning to, I've heard from both of you, even though we agree on many things, feminism really did a number on us, or feminism pulled a linchpin, or it's feminism's fault. Without feminism, none of us would be around this table, because Stephen wouldn't value our voices.
Oh my fucking God. I'm going to fucking... Okay. Oh my fucking God. Okay.
This dude who's brown and likely has black in his ancestry wouldn't value the voices of white women. You want to reconsider that?
Okay, let's just look at the community thing.
He's still a man, Alison.
Let's just look at the community thing. When I was having to change a tire on my car in front of my house, it wasn't one of the neighborhood women who pulled over, right? Lives right across the street, but was headed home and pulled over and helped me change my car. It was a man. Okay? When a tree fell on my fucking car, right? It wasn't one of the neighbor women who came over and said, I have a winch on my truck. And so if that's not a city tree and you have to deal with it yourself, I'm happy to pull it off your car and chainsaw it up for you, right? For no money. It wasn't a woman who, after like 2 feet of snow fell, and it was like, and he had a snow blower, and he was doing his walks, and he just decided to do the walks for the entire block on both sides, okay, including mine. That wasn't one of the neighbor women, right? It wasn't the neighbor women who were coaching my kids' soccer team, volunteer coaching for no pay, right? Yeah, the women did community work, right? And the women were really good at guilting you if you didn't have the time to do it, to join them and like with whatever. But the men were heavily involved in community work, right? And they've always been involved in community work. They've always been involved in community work. Maybe not organized community work, right? But just this morning when I was out dealing with my T-Bird, which some asshole broke into and then left the overhead lights on, okay? And now the battery's dead. And I'm like cleaning out all the fucking cigarette butts off the floor because he dumped out the ashtray, right? And cleaning out all the shit that he ransacked, okay, out of the glove box. Okay, and I'm dealing with that, and the guy across the street comes over and he's like, "Oh, you know, is the hood's up, right?" He's like, "Are you having car troubles?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the battery's dead. Somebody left the overhead light on after they ransacked my fucking car, right?" And he's like, "Oh, if you need a jump, just let me know." And I'm like, "No, I can jump the car myself, but thank you for offering, because you're part of a community and volunteering yourself without even being part of some kind of organization."
Indeed. I just want to point out that this woman's statement is unbelievably mean, bullying, and thuggish towards this guy. And it's completely ignorant of history, because the truth is that if she was of an upper class, they would listen to her. Even if she was of a lower class as a woman, she would engage in a social phenomenon like looking on, where she got to judge who men voted for. There was and also, like, I'll use an anecdote from Medina, I think, in Spain, or is it in Spain or some place in Italy. There was a prince who said hello to a peasant girl, and it caused a scandal in the town. And her father got, her brothers together, went and beat the absolute crap out of the prince. And then when they were coming home to the town, they were met by the head woman of the town. And she said, "That's not good enough. Go murder him." And so they did. You're telling me that women didn't have a say in the past? Of course they had a say. Go read the Norse sagas. Yeah. Go read actual history. And it also depends, like, it's complete ignorance. Do you think that princesses in the past had no say? Queens in the past had no say. There was a certain part of like the 16th century where you couldn't freaking swing a cat without hitting a female regent. Did they have no say? Like, this is such ignorance of history. And let's go closer to the common era. Do you think, lady, that if you were in the antebellum South and this man said, "Well, you don't have a say," what do you think would have happened to him? He would have been whipped because you are white and he is black. How dare you? Now I'm pissed. How dare you be so ignorant of history and so bullying towards someone who is being gracious towards you in the current era? The fact is that feminism is used to excuse women's shitty behavior today and is based on a lie about history that's completely ignorant about the social structures of the past and who got to speak and who didn't. Because believe me, there are plenty of women throughout history. Aristocracy, which produced far more female heads of state than democracy has currently, and they definitely had a say. So shut your trap. You're an ignorant person who thinks that Mad Men is freaking a historical document. You should be in a short bus. Okay, I'm done. Was there anything further that we needed to respond to, Brian?
No, we can save it for next time. I do think we should do more of this video. I think it's a good one.
Sure.
So.
Well, I'll touch base with Karen. You guys will have to do something without me on Friday because I have more dental stuff with Jonathan. Yeah, but that we probably should let Brian get out of here. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you have any commentary on anything that we have spoken of during this time that has got us riled up. And again, Calgary, September 13th this year, if you want to meet us. And all that stuff is in the low bar, including links for supporting, links for getting into our community. And there was something more I wanted to say about this to sum this up. This is just like what's astounding to me is right now, the infinite material goods generator is breaking down. And we have this committee of women discussing the next thing it has to give them.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not the discussion we need to have here. That's not the discussion we need to have. But that's the discussion that they're going to continue to have until everything breaks to pieces breaks to pieces because of their demands that they place on it. All right. So that's my final word. Please support the show, feedthebadger.com/support. And I'll hand it back to you, Brian, because I know that you're probably anxious to get going.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.